Let's call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals for February the 26th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
brief explanation of what's going to go on tonight. So we're going to do a roll call vote first. Let me do that. And then we'll do an explanation of procedure and we'll get to the election. So roll call vote.
Mr. Bartol?
Here.
Ms. Owens?
Present.
Mr. Shupp?
Here.
Mr. Sydow? Mr. Roberto?
Here. We're going to be voting for officers tonight, so we're a little bit unusual, so we'll get that out of the way pretty quickly. And then we'll swear you guys in that anybody's going to speak, and then we'll hear the cases. The staff will give a presentation. After that, the appellant will give their presentation, and then anyone in the audience that's for or against will speak for or against the presentation. And then after that, we'll close the public portion. And then we may, if you spoke, we may call, one of the board members may call you up to speak on, whatever your particular variance, what you're for or against it. And then at that point, we'll vote on the matter, and it'll be decided later this evening. And after that, we've got minutes and so forth. You don't have to stay for the entire meeting. You just need to stay for your portion. And then we'll finish out the evening. First on our agenda is to elect officers. First person to elect is the Board of Chairperson. Do we have a nomination?
I'll nominate Mr. Roberto.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any opposed? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartol?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. The next position will be for the Vice Chair. Do we have any motion for a nomination?
I'll nominate Mr. Bartlett.
Mr. Bartle, and I will second that. Any discussion or objections? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Next position will be for the election of the Secretary. Do we have a motion or a nomination?
I nominate Mr. Ship.
Okay, nominations have been made. Do we have a second?
How's this work again if we want to nominate two different people?
You can nominate somebody else, and then we'll.
Right now?
Sure.
Oh, I'll nominate Ms. Owens.
Okay. So we have two running. Let me make a note here. All right. Anyone else interested in running the opposition? All right. We'll do a roll call vote in order of nomination. So you vote for or against Mr. Shupp. So go down your roll call vote.
Mr. Bartol?
No.
Ms. Owens?
No.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. So the carries, Mr. Shupp will be the secretary. And that brings us into the swearing in of the appellants. So if you plan on speaking this evening, if you please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm you're going to tell the truth and nothing but the truth before this Board of Zoning Appeals? So you do? Thank you. You may be seated. First case, hearing of appeals, would be for a continued case of BZA 24-36. This was continued from last month. Applicants are requesting a height variance for an accessory building at a property located at 12080 Birch Hill Drive. Does the staff have a presentation?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So as you said, the applicant is Don Smith. He's also the property owner. The address is 12080 Birch Hill Drive. The parcel number is listed below, and he is in the single unit residential of Colerain Township. Just a brief overview of what his request is. It is a variance request. The applicant would like to construct a detached garage at a height prohibited by the township. The height that he is proposing is 20 feet, and the township only allows accessory structures to be at a maximum height of 15 feet at the midpoint. He would like this height variance so for a RV in the future, workspace, and for tool storage. This is kind of an overview of the property, and then the red rectangle kind of shows like where the garage would be located. This is a site plan that the applicant have given us last month, just to kind of show you again what it would be, what are the dimensions of it. And this is just a rendering of it. Okay. So we use the Duncan factors to determine if a variance meets the criteria for approval or denial. After putting this case through the given criteria, there's 3 factors that stood out the most to determining our recommendation. So the ones that I would like to highlight are 2, 3, and 7. 2 reads, it is staff's opinion that the request itself is substantial in nature. 3, it is staff's opinion the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or that adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of granting the requested variance. Number 7, it is staff's opinion that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would not be observed and substantial justice would not be done by granting the requested variance. So for these reasons, staff recommendation is denial. And that is all I have for our presentation. Mr.
Thank you.
Rivera?
Is the applicant present? He is. You would come forward and kind of remind us of your justification, your hardship as to why you need to be granted this appeal.
Okay, Don Smith, 12080 Birch Hill Drive.
Thanks, sir.
There was more to the presentation.
I have it right for you, right there on the screen.
Could you go back to the very beginning slide? And based upon, if you go back to the picture, please? If you look at that one, I took out the 20-foot and highlighted in yellow a question mark. Last time that we spoke, the decision was to table it based upon, let me go do some further research and find out what possibilities we have to come more in line. Could you go to the next one, please? I had some pictures. Do we have those in there? No. Do you have a picture of the truss? There should be a PDF of the truss.
I just have the 3,
Okay.
I believe.
If I can approach the board and just show you the picture. This is what I sent in to the. It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
The board and staff. And what I had was this. I went back to the builder and I told them that we have a tabling. I need to bring the height down as close as possible to 15 with the ability still to be able to fit an 8-foot wide 8-foot wide RV and I brought that down to the absolute maximum legal height, which was 13 and a half. That's the legal limit for one to go. And that doesn't include any accessories on top like I mentioned last time. So that's the legal limit. And so what I did was I went down to the
Thanks, sir. In order for me to admit that into evidence, I would need to have the staff sent that documentation. So can you make sure that's sent to?
Did that show up?
I might have missed it, if anything, but I will double check and I will let you know.
I'll email it back to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. The idea there is that I wanted to bring it down as close as possible to 15, and short of going into a big issue of, well, I've got to get now a sloped roof, and I could go over a little over 15 on one side and down, or 15 and then slope it down on one side. That was one, but that's going to require a lot of architecture. So I decided I didn't want to go in that direction initially. That's, if eventually I have to, then that would be that, but that's a lot of expense on my part. What I did was, do you have the pictures, please? Mm-hmm. Okay. If you look here at the picture, you'll see I've extended it on the right by dashed line, but this is all to scale as well too. So a 12-foot high wall with this outline of the truss that goes up to the roof peak at 16 feet is as close as I could get to that, but I've got about, I think it's about 3 or 4 inches on each side of the RV at the top to avoid scraping anything. So that becomes a sardine in a box situation. The next one, please. I took it up a foot to a 13-foot wall, and this will give me a foot over the side of each of the RV, which I believe is sufficient for anyone competent driving an RV could be able to put it in there and be able to park it with a little bit of leeway left or right. And then the last picture, please. This actually goes up to 18 feet, and that would give you 2 feet of clearance, and I said that's probably not necessary. So my recommendation on the last page that I had was that the 13-foot wall with an overall height of 17 feet would be what I would ask the board to approve. And I put in a secondary condition there that because of the building, sometimes it's a little tough to get everything exact. I asked if they would give 6-inch easement to the builders to be able to, if something goes maybe a couple of inches high. I had noticed in a previous application that fences are allowed at 6 feet plus or minus, with an additional 3 inches on top. So in this case, for such an expensive and large project, I was asking for 6 inches. My request or requirement to the barn designer is 17 feet is what I want as a finished height. But if something happens or goes over, or there's a grading issue or something, that it's going to be very close, but not to exceed 17.5 at the max. And that was what I had submitted based upon my research that I have.
Okay. Any other thing you want to present?
No, this is my request, or my response to the request granted for the variance, the tabling from last time.
Okay, very good. We'll have you seated at the moment. Now, it's still open for the public, so if anyone's here to speak for or against, we'll allow them to come up, and then we'll close it, and then we'll ask some questions. All right? Anyone else in favor of this appeal? Anyone else, anyone here in opposition? I see nothing from the floor. Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
The motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. All right. Questions
Mr.
for the...
Roberto, can I ask you something?
Yes, sir.
If the wall is 13 feet and the overall height is 17 feet, which is lower than we had assumed that he wanted from some of the pictures we were sent, is that not 15 feet to the midpoint of the roof?
That's what I was going to...
In which case, I guess staff would ask the board to dismiss it without prejudice.
I agree. I mean, that was kind of where I was going to go with it as well. It looks like he's met the obligations and met within the requirements.
If he had wanted the 1819, as we discussed before, we would need a variance, but I don't think a variance is necessary with what he just told us that he wanted.
So which plan are we're referencing, the 13-foot one at 17 feet overall height?
Is it that one on the board?
17.5.
One you have currently on the board?
And that's 17 feet to the peak on
Right.
that illustration, right?
Correct. And we measured to the midline.
To the
so-
midline.
Right. So I would say we can, from the board, we make a motion that, and just dismiss it. If this is what he's going to go with. Do we have any motion to that effect?
So I'll make a motion to dismiss the applicant's case.
I'll second it.
Well, hold on.
That's- you wanna
Assuming, or not
base it-
assuming, but based on the fact that the walls will be 13 feet and the ridge will be 17 feet.
That's great. Thank you. Motion's been made to that effect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mark beat you. Again.
Mark,
I know. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. So, sir, what with that change that you made there, you're now falling within the zoning requirements, so you're perfectly fine to proceed.
We'll be in touch.
I would, since you presented it as evidence, I still would go ahead and put it in our packet as evidence. Thank you. No, sir. I appreciate you coming out tonight and taking care of that.
Thanks. Thanks.
All right. Next case would be BZA 25-1. Applicant is requesting a use variance to operate a type A daycare at the property located at 6353 Duet Lane. Does the staff have a presentation?
Yes. So the applicant is LaShanta Matthews, who is also the property owner. Her address is 6353 Duet Lane with the parcel number listed below, and she is within Colerain Township's single-unit residential zone.
Okay.
The use variance request is to operate a type A family daycare home in a single-unit residential zone in Colerain Township. As you can see in the graphic to the right, it is prohibited use in the single-unit residential, or SUR, kind of indicated by the dashed line. The only area in Colerain Township where it is allowed is NBM, or neighborhood mixed. Just a brief definition of it, so everyone's aware, is just, it is the type A home daycare must be a permanent residence of the provider and can care for up to 12 children on a daily basis. Generally, the homes will have 7 to 12 kids on a daily basis unless 4 or more of the children are under the age of 2. Then it generally will be 4 to 12 kids cared for on a given day. This is kind of the character of the area itself. It's all residential housing. It's highly dense in housing as well. It abuts Green Township. It is a no-outlet street with 2 cul-de-sacs and is over 600 feet from the closest ulterior road, which is Blue Rock, and the property is 0.175 acres. This kind of just shows an overview of a zoomed-out version of the property. The little red dot, if you can kind of see it, is the property with the blue underneath it. What's above this green line is Colerain Township's jurisdiction, and what's below it is green. I got permission from the applicant to take pictures of the home. I just wanted to show you kind of context of what the home looks like. I took these today just as a little overview. And then again, we use the Duncan factors to determine our results. I want to point out 3 of the 7 points. Number 2 is staff's opinion that the request itself is substantial in nature. Number 3, it is staff's opinion the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or the adjoining property would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of granting the requested variance. And number 5, it is staff's opinion the property owner did have prior knowledge of the zoning restrictions. So for these reasons, staff recommends denial. Mr. Roberto.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Yep. Did you sign in, ma'am? No. I need you to sign in the sheet, please, if you don't mind. Your name and address for the record. And with that, did I swear you in? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hello, my name is LaShanta Matthews, and I am at 6353 Duet Lane.
Very good. Would you like to talk about why there's a hardship, or what hardship you would require for us to grant this case?
Yes. So we are able to be licensed for up to 12 children, but that's not a guarantee. Right now, I do run an in-home daycare. I have 4 children present along with my son, so that will make 5. The reason why I did request a type A is because my husband, he helps me when he can. So if we're able to do a type A in-home daycare, he will be more hands-on and be able to work with me, which is what I'm kind of looking for, because right now I'm not able to run the program like I desire to run it. He is an artist, and so I wanted to make it an art-based program. I do transportation, and so as far as the incoming and outcoming traffic, I transport my children. So even if he was working with me, we would only be able to have 6 children because ages 3 and up, they go to preschool and they're in school. And so when that first shift leave, then we could bring in some children from after-school program and they could stay to like a second shift type of thing. And that's what I was looking for when it comes to the type A daycare. We're not looking to run 12 children. Like I said, ages 3 and up, most kids are in preschool and kindergarten and regular school during that time, so. And like I said, I do transportation, so he will have to be home, and he can only have 6 children by himself. And so we're looking to just have 6 children, which right now, if I was only able to do the type B daycare, which would be my other option, it wouldn't work out for us to be both working together because the income then would be $1,300 a month combined. Right now, we're making, I think, maybe $1,800 a month together, and so it's really just, it doesn't work out. And I'm just looking for, I think it'll be one more child on the first shift with the 5 kids that I have now, and then I will be able to bring in maybe 4 to 5 children. And so even if the variance is approved for maybe 8 children, 7 to 8 children, that would be beneficial to my home because we both could be home working together, and that would be beneficial financially for the both of us. And then the hardship that I did put was that we do have a broken pipe in our home, and I was looking forward to being able to make a little extra money so that we can get that fixed. Right now, I am on the list for people working cooperatively, and I call and check every month to see if we're next in line, and they just say we have to wait. So with me being able to be a type A home, we will be able to get our pipe in our bathroom fixed because unfortunately it is over $5,000. And so that's what I put for the hardship, and I think that's all I got so far.
Anything else, ma'am?
No, that's it.
At this moment, just go ahead and take a seat, and I'm still open to the public portion. Anyone who's here for or against the appeal, I'll call you back up afterwards. Anyone else here for the appeal? Anyone here against the appeal? I see no motion on the floor. Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shep,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. All right, ma'am, now you can come on back up to the podium. We'll be asking you some questions if you don't mind. Ms. Seidel, you want to start us off?
Sure. Yes, ma'am. You mentioned early on in your statement that that you said "we." How many people do you consider "we"? Is it just you and your husband, or
Yes,
you
me
and
and
your
my
husband and other folks that are doing this, or how many people will you have working for you?
So it'll be myself and my husband, and then I was thinking that when we do like vacations, just to take a break away from the daycare, we will hire someone to come in for vacation. So far we have 2 vacations planned for the year, 2 weeks of vacation.
Okay. And how many children do you and your husband have yourselves?
Total, we have 4 children.
And so you're wanting to take in another 4 or 5 children?
No, I do have 4 daycare kids right now. So with my 4 children, the older 2 wouldn't be counted in the number, but my 5-year-old will be counted in the number. And so that's why I said 5 children total that we are caring for now, because I just added them into the equation.
That's all I had.
Mr. Shup?
Nothing now.
Okay, Ms. Owens?
You mentioned a type B daycare. What type do you currently operate? Are you type B now?
No, so right now I am unlicensed, which is good for the state of Ohio as long as you stay up under 6 children. And so that's basically what I'm running now. I keep all my paperwork the same as the ODJFS, and everything is just running the same. And I am working right now with a mentor. We were given a grant for the program, the ODJFS, a mentor to mentor us to help us get our license. And so we are working towards the type A license. And I'm just hoping that this goes in my favor so that we can continue, but we would get a grant up to $2,000. Myself for the mentee, and the mentor would get a $5,000 grant. So I'm working with her up into April.
Okay, and you said your other option would be a type B. Can you just briefly explain to me the differences, just for the layman?
So the type B daycare, you could care for 6 children, and the type A daycare, you could care from 7 to 12. And even with you, like the people come out and they decide the number of children that they want you to take care of. And she have a picture of the area that we would do the daycare in, which is the first floor only.
It's up on the screen if you need an overview.
Okay. No further questions.
Mr. Bartle?
No, I don't have anything.
Yeah, are you currently operating under a Class Type B daycare then?
No, not at this moment. It would be the same, if I was to put in an application, it would be the same thing that I'm doing now, if that makes sense.
So it's not required, it doesn't require a license or anything with the state of Ohio?
Right.
Okay. Okay, I'd have no further questions. Mr. Shutt?
Yeah, I have one. If you go to this type A and you become licensed, where do your children come from?
Where do they come from? They come from, mostly everyone is in Montfort Heights, where we are, but I have one child that is in Bond Hill, and so I go to pick him up at about like 5 a.m.
And just kind of word of mouth, or does the licensing people help you with that?
No, it's just word of mouth.
That's all.
Other further questions for the applicant or staff? Okay. You may be seated, ma'am. Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve or deny the appeal?
I'll make a motion to deny the request.
Okay, the motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shutt?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Sorry, ma'am, your appeal has been denied. Next on the docket would be BZA 25-2. This is an applicant who's requiring a variance for a proposed addition to a detached garage at the property located at 5370 West Kemper Road. This is staff representation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a variance for case BZA-25-2. The applicant is Max Lopfer. He is also the property owner and lives at 5370 West Kemper Road. The parcel number is listed below, and the zoning district is neighborhood mixed. So the variance request is to allow the applicant's combined accessory structure square footage to be greater than the principal building. Currently, they have a garage on their parcel, which is 500 square feet. The proposed garage would be an extension onto that current garage to make it 1,000 square feet. There's also an existing shed that is 120, making their total accessory building square footage 1,120 square feet. With that in mind, the principal building itself is 875 square feet. But I will point out as well, when I was looking at the auditor, it did say the house square footage was 952. So this number that I have on the screen is from the applicant. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Either way, it's in violation of our township zoning resolution. The accessory buildings must be subordinate in size, height, and area to the extent of the principal building, and the accumulative footprint of all accessory buildings at a given lot shall not occupy more than 100% of the principal building square footage. Just a little overview of the area. It is neighborhood mixed again. It is low to medium density. It's located on a state road, West Kemper. It is next to Station 102, and the property itself is 1.13 acres. Here's just kind of a zoomed out version of it. Again, underneath the red dot is the parcel that we're looking at. As you can see, there's a little bit of residential housing and a couple businesses kind of in the area as well. And here's a small little rendering of what the extension would look like of the garage, indicated by the red rectangle. This is what the applicant had given me as a site plan to also show you what the dimensions of it would be. And here's a rendering of it as well. And then that just kind of shows like how far back it would be on their property. So with those in mind, we use the Duncan factors again to determine our results. I'll point out 3 of the 7 Duncan factors. Number 2, it is staff's opinion that the request itself is substantial in nature. Number 5, it is staff's opinion that the property owner did have prior knowledge of the zoning restrictions. Number 7, it is staff's opinion that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would not be observed and a substantial justice would not be done by granting the requested variance. So for those reasons, staff recommends denial.
Okay, thank you.
And that is all.
Question for staff.
So one more time, what you think the true square footage of the primary structure is which one?
Going off of the auditors, which I would assume that would be accurate, it would be 952.
Okay, which makes it better.
Yes,
Okay. And then the 2 outbuildings is 1,120?
yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Come on up and give your name and address for the record.
My name is Max Lupfer. I live at 5370 West Kemper Road.
Thank you. You have a presentation?
Yes, I do. So this is my variance application presentation. This is just a view of the property from the front. It's an old 1941 house. So at the time, it wasn't built with the idea of garages in mind, so there was no provisions made to it. And since then, the way that the property has been expanded, there's no real room around the building based on where utilities have been placed, as well as the septic system for the property. So if we go ahead, just re-highlighting the 2 items that I'm requesting a variance on, and then go forward again. I went through and added a couple extra details onto the site plan, adding in where the location of the septic system is to the north of the house, as well as on the west side of the house is where the gas line enters the property, as well as where my air conditioning unit is. And then, as you can see, on the east side of the property, there is no room between the primary structure and the edge of the property to add any attached garage. Same thing with in front of the building, there's no room for that as well. So we did look at what it would take to add an attached garage to increase the primary structure, but due to where the house is located on the property, plus all these extra items, all the utilities, we deemed that it was very cost prohibitive for us to add an attached garage. So that's when we started looking at the route of just expanding the existing garage that was already on the property in the back lot. And here I break out kind of just each of the areas. The blue line in the bottom right, that's showing where the gas line enters the property. So if I was to add any attached garage on that side, it would also require movement of that gas line. The other thing that the original picture captures is the property has a slope on it, so the entry at the front of the property is on grade, and then as you continue down behind the house, it actually drops to a walkout basement, so there's a 10-plus foot drop in elevation in that span, so any garage that was to be placed on the west side of the house would also require lots of excavation work and building in a retaining wall that would support that area. And then if we keep going through here, just kind of to give an overview from what you see from the roadside, you can't actually see the garage. It's tucked down the hill behind the trees, behind some fences. So from the view to the public, this garage wouldn't even be seen. And the type of garage building that I had selected matches what's already existing on the property. It's already a metal pole structure garage with metal siding. So I just, with the proposal, I would like to continue that to make it a seamless transition between the existing and what we're adding. And also to point out, there's a giant hedgerow that's at the border of the fire station property and our property. That blocks most of the view, and then it's downhill from there down to the area where the garage is located. Next slide. Just to kind of give a breakdown, so I used 832. My measurements of the property, I took my tape measure out to get those dimensions. So in our current state, which is the first line item, the outbuilding, the existing garage is 500 square feet. That takes up 60% of the primary structure capacity. We have a shed behind the house. That's a 10 by 12, so it's 120, about 15% utilization. So total in our current state is 75% of the current rules. And that also only takes up 3% of the total lot coverage. The proposed layout takes us up to 120% for the primary structure, or for the primary garage. And then the outbuilding, the shed stays the same. And then our total amount is 135. And then that's 4% of the lot coverage. So with that, I wanted to point out that we do stay within the 150% rule for 2 acre and above properties. We're at 1.13, so we're not there to the full 2. However, I believe that that's still keeping within the mindset of the rules of smaller properties have to stay closer to that 100%, whereas as you increase in property size, you're allowed to that further expansion to 150%. That's the last slide I have.
Okay. Do you have any more slides?
Sorry.
Just highlighting some points I made already, but it's an old house, 1941. There was never a garage built to it. There are multiple nearby properties to ours where they have outbuildings that are larger than what we're requesting, 30 by 40s and larger. But with all those cases, their primary structure had a built-in garage that helped them have a primary structure footprint that exceeded that 1,200 or larger square foot. And for us, if we did have a 2-car attached, we wouldn't even have to come for this variance, because we would then be up to about a 1,300 square foot primary structure, which is mean that what we're requesting in this variance would be less than what the primary structure is.
Okay.
All that I have.
Very good. Just stay close, and we'll call you back up in a second. Anyone speaking in favor of this appeal? Anyone else? Anyone speaking in opposition? See none. Can we get a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Someone's got you that time. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartle,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp, Mr. Sydow,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Owens, you want to start us off? Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Bartle?
Yeah, come on up. These aren't really questions, but so if I were to use the auditor's square footage,
Yep.
it looks like you're 15% over if you were granted the variance, which is 168. Well, the difference between 1120 and 952 is 168.
Okay.
So one option is you build a 168 square foot addition onto your house,
Yes.
or you could tear down the shed, or you could build a breezeway from the house to the existing garage.
That's way far away. It's a long time.
I don't think a 200-foot breezeway
those
would
sound
be
reasonable?
favorable, but
Those were the 3 options I came up with. But yeah, I mean, obviously you have some site issues, but regardless of the site issues, we're talking about square footage, not where the septic is and this and whatever. But you're correct. If he had a attached two-car garage originally, then this wouldn't even come up. But I guess I don't have a question, but I don't think you're willing to do any of those three options I mentioned.
Or, I'm not tied to the shed. It's not the prettiest thing.
Yeah.
So if we,
But it was only, how big was it? 120?
120.
So you'd still be a little off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm allowed to use the auditor's value,
Yeah.
I would be willing to come back with a slightly shrunken garage and ditching the shed on the property.
Or there's a chance, depending on the board, if you were just a little bit off, by losing the shed, you might be granted the variance
Okay.
for what you're
Yeah,
asking.
don't give up anything yet.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure what the condition of the shed was, or if you use it, or,
I currently use it. It's, we use it for basically all of our outdoor equipment, the lawnmower, tools, et cetera. It's a very tall structure, for a shed.
okay.
So it is we don't like looking at it as much as we should.
When you say a little bit off, I want to add that we have a 10% administrative waiver we can grant. He's not much farther over that. We just can't go 1 square foot over that. But if he was a little bit off still, that would be okay.
You mean by losing the shed, he might be able to do the 10%? Okay.
Our 10% brings them up to 1,047 square feet.
Okay. That's all.
Mr. Saito?
No questions.
Mr. Shep?
Yeah, I was going to kind of go in the same direction. About removing the shed, like it's to 1,000 feet. You use the auditor's number, you're
Okay.
looking at 10%.
And I'm sympathizing with you as far as not having a garage on your house. So, I mean, it's, even if a single car garage was on the house, that would have helped you a whole lot. So, do we have a motion to approve or deny? Or with any contingencies?
Well, so you are willing to remove the shed?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I would make a motion that we would grant the variance under the requirement that the shed be removed.
So a motion's been made to grant approval with condition that shed be removed from the property. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartol?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup? Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Your variance has been granted.
Thank you very much.
We'll be in touch.
That brings us to unfinished business. None. We have minutes. We need to approve the minutes for last month's meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Motion's been made. Any discussion, or any, second?
Second.
Seconds been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartol?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Next would be, the next meeting would be March the 26th, and we have,
We have no cases, so it'll be in April.
okay, so, and scratch that, it'll be in April. And then we have administrative matters. Staff have a presentation to that effect?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next case is BZA-25-3. As the Board of Zoning Appeals Administrator, am the applicant. The property owner in this case is Northbrook LLC at 6991 Pippin Road. The parcel number is listed on the screen. This is also in our neighborhood mixed zoning district, and the first notice was given November 18, 2024. So this is a sign that's located at an auto body shop. A certified letter was sent to the property owner informing them that the zoning violation was present on their property. As of the filing date of this administrative matter, it remained uncorrected, and the property owner had till 5 p.m. today to remedy this violation, and they could do that by two ways. They could either tear the sign down, or they could apply for a master signage plan, and in this case, the applicant did neither. If they did tear the sign down, I was not notified. In accordance with Colerain Township zoning resolution, the Board of Zoning Appeals is responsible for determining whether or not the staff's findings regarding this violation are true or false. the board may take one of the following actions. If the board finds the staff's determination is true, the case will be forwarded to the Board of Trustees for enforcement and correction of the violation. If the board finds that the staff determination is false, the case will be dismissed. However, dismissal of the matter does not preclude further enforcement action should conditions on the property change or additional evidence indicate that noncompliance with the zoning resolution is occurring. If the board determines that additional time should be granted, they have the option of tabling the case. If tabled, the property owner must correct the violation before the next hearing date. The staff determination section, the staff requests that the Board of Zoning Appeals determine whether the following determination is true or false, or whether the matter should be tabled. Number 1, pursuant to Colerain Township zoning resolution, a sign is considered abandoned when it no longer identifies or advertises a bona fide business, lessor, service, owner, product, or activity, and or when no legal owner can be identified. And number 2, the pole sign located on this site meets the criteria for an abandoned sign as defined in the zoning resolution. Mr. Roberto?
Okay, so just for clarification, why is this before the Board of Zoning Appeals?
In our zoning resolution, it was written that that a property owner, if there's an abandoned sign, would have the opportunity to plead their case before the zoning appeals, Board of Zoning Appeals, before it is forwarded to the trustees.
Perfect.
So all you're doing today is basically determining whether or not this sign is abandoned. We made this a public hearing where the applicant could speak and where the public could speak as well.
Okay, so do we need to open up to the public to make, okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For this one and all the others that are following, what's the definition of a bona fide business?
That's up to you guys, whatever you view it as. Our zoning resolution does not specify further.
I
So,
was just curious if
yeah.
this sign, I guess this sign we're looking at right now says nothing on it.
There is a bona fide business on site, I guess, but the sign is not advertising that business, and that's why.
Okay, but one example would be, let's say it's advertising Acme Lock Company, but they moved a mile down, and they're still in business, but just a mile down. That's a bona fide business?
But not to that property.
But not on that
So-
site. That would be an
It says
off-site
that in
sign.
here, right, that the sign has to be per this property, this parcel?
It's not advertising a business, service, owner, product, or activity upon the site.
Yeah, okay, so it has to be something happening.
Yes, if it's an off-site sign, that's basically a billboard. The same thing, I believe there's some other signs in the township that maybe have storage businesses on them when they have moved for years. So those are cases we may see in the future. But yes, to answer your question, Mr. Roberto, we would ask that you open it to the public hearing.
First of all, is the applicant present, or the appellant present? I see none. Public portion is one for you, or anyone against this? See none. We have a motion to close the public portion.
I'll make the motion to close it.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second? Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp? Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
True, yes. I was reading true, sorry. All right, so in this case, do we need to make a motion that to move forward with moving this to the trustees, or what kind
Yes,
of
so-
motion are we looking for?
I determined as the zoning administrator that the sign is abandoned. So all I'm asking the board to do is determine whether or not it's true that the sign meets the definition of an abandoned sign and that this particular sign is abandoned.
Okay.
So if you believe it is, you would say you'd make a motion to deem that it's true that this sign is abandoned, and you read the two conditions.
Okay, do we have a motion to determine that this sign it truly is abandoned?
Make a motion that the sign is truly abandoned.
Okay, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes.
Just for clarification, it will now go to the Board of Trustees, and they will decide to either declare it a nuisance or not declare it a nuisance and order its removal.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
So you have another one?
Yes. Our next case is zoning code enforcement 24-5. Case is excuse me, sorry. On 3. Give me 1 sec.
And we skipped one, it's been withdrawn, do we need to make a
That's
public
the,
record of that?
that's the window.
Since they withdrew it before the hearing, I don't believe so.
So 25-4, we don't have to make a motion.
It was withdrawn before the hearing because the violation was corrected.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, and there's another one that may have been on the agenda.
25-6.
I see 25.5.
Yes, okay, so 6 has been withdrawn as well.
25.5 is 3633 Blue Rock Road.
And then 7 has been tabled by our administration while we get some more answers from them.
All right, I don't see anything in our packet referencing the 25.5.
Right, well, yeah.
Do we?
Okay, so the one with,
Page
it's in
43.
there, it's on page 45?
43.
43, yep.
I'll take it
Sorry, this is kind of new, so it's maybe a little messy.
over here, that's why. I got
So this one in particular, I'm also the applicant. This is owned by Blue Rock Real Estate LLC at 3633 Blue Rock Road. The parcel number's on the screen, and this is also in the neighborhood mixed zoning district. The first notice was given November 18th of last year. A certified notice was sent to the property owner informing them a zoning violation is present on their property. As of the filing date of this administrative matter, the violation remains uncorrected. The property owner had until 5 p.m. today to remedy the violation. To staff's knowledge, the violation is not corrected and a master signage plan has not been submitted by the property owner. In accordance with the Colerain Township zoning resolution, the Board of Zoning Appeals is responsible for determining whether the staff's finding regarding the violation is true or false. The board may take one of the actions we discussed earlier. So the staff determination, staff requests that the Board of Zoning Appeals determine whether the following is true or false, or whether the matter should be tabled. Number 1, pursuant to the Colerain Township zoning resolution, a sign is considered abandoned when it no longer identifies or advertises a bona fide business, lesser service, owner, product, or activity, and or when no legal owner can be identified. And number 2, the pole sign located on this site meets the criteria for abandoned sign as defined in the zoning resolution. This is the Blue Rock Ice Cream Shop sign. Mr. Roberto?
You need to open is there an applicant present? I see.
I live back there, behind that, and I was wondering, because I got a letter in the mail about that sign, and I was like, I didn't even understand what it was. So that's why I came, so I'm like, I don't even know what sign they're talking about.
Well, if you're gonna, if you're gonna,
Open that up.
if you're gonna speak, ma'am, one, we need to put it on public record, and 2, I'll need to have you sign in.
Okay, that's fine.
If there's a, was there one for these?
Do we have one for the signs?
There, yeah, it's 24-5.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, if you don't mind, just so we, and then I'll need to swear you in as well, so.
Because I remember getting a letter years ago when it was open, about the deck that they put on the front.
Thank you, ma'am. So we'll go up there and I'll swear you in.
Okay.
Do you swear or affirm that you tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth before the Board of Zoning Appeals? Say I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Give your name and address for the record, please.
Candy King, 3628 Hanley Road.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's been working on that place for 4 years. So I'm like, is he opening it or is he not opening it? I've heard he is going to open it, but I don't know, because it's still sitting there. I mean, we used to go there all the time, so I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he is planning on opening it. Does anybody know that?
No, ma'am, that's why it's being presented tonight, because
Yeah.
they've made no intentions of
Yeah.
whether they were or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I was curious because I didn't know what it was or what it was for. I didn't know if it was for that or if it was for the property that's been for sale forever in front, you know, the old farmhouse. And I was like, are they talking about that sign? That's what I thought it was. So that's just all. I just didn't know what it was about.
Okay?
So I was just curious. I don't
And
have a problem with the sign if he opens up the,
in this particular instance, you know as much as we do.
there you go. I think he bought it because there's a cell tower in the back,
Could be.
which I was not asked about, I can tell you that.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I will mention that our code enforcement department that manages our vacant building registry has been in regular communication with the owner, bringing them before the Code Enforcement Review Board. And there has been, I think, maybe it's an understatement of a tug of war, whether it's vacant or not. He stores things in it. It's, I think to Mr. Peters' argument that he's making, there is no legitimate business in the building that's being operated that's related to the sign out front. So just wanted to make that note that Curb has been dealing with it as well. So that there.
Now you have more of the rest of the story. So, anyone else speaking for or against this appeal, abandonment? I see none. Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
Make a motion to close the public portion?
I second.
Okay, we got a second. Any discussion? I had one question about it. So, I mean, I know he's storing stuff there, so it's not a legitimate business. What's preventing from putting a for sale or for lease sign on it? Would that then make a legitimate sign?
As long as Blue Rock Ice Cream Shop is not open in that location, that sign will have to come down. A for sale or lease sign is not a legitimate reason to keep the sign active. So we couldn't approve that sign going on the pole sign. So unless he gets a business in there and reactivates the sign, that's the only way to keep the sign.
And then the second question I have for that is that a non-conforming sign?
Yes.
So then he would have to be further off the road as well?
If the trustees deem it a nuisance and require him to tear it down, his options for any kind of ground sign are going to be quite limited. We don't allow pole signs anymore.
Monument sign.
It will have to be a monument if there's even space to do that.
All right.
I had a question then. So this is like a hybrid business being seasonal, not that was there last summer, but since it's winter and we have maybe heard it might open this in 2025, do we wait a month or two for warmer weather to see if he truly does open?
If that's how you want to vote, but in all the time that I've been in Colerain, I have never seen it open.
Well, I know it's been closed for 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But I had heard rumblings that it truly might open this year. And since it's winter, obviously, he's not going to be open right now.
But the applicant was notified in this case.
Yes, that was my point I was going to make, is that we sent 2 certified letters, one initially and then one about the hearing, to 2 different addresses. And they still did not accept them and did not come. So
Yeah.
if he wanted to make that argument, most townships and cities, they have abandoned sign rules, and they don't usually send it to BZA. They don't usually send it to the trustees. They just make a determination after a certain number of days. We wanted to give people an opportunity for transparency to be able to plead their case about, hey, I want to get a business in there. But when they don't show up, it's hard to speculate what they're going to do.
All right, thanks.
I think noteworthy as well is that there will be another opportunity for the owner to make his case, and that would be to the Board of Trustees, and that would be at the hearing. I think we envision a very similar process that the police department uses with junk and abandoned vehicles, and so they present to the board, and the board makes a decision and passes a resolution relative to that. And so I think, we'll approach this a very similar way and ensure that he has ample opportunity.
And I mean, in this instance, you're going to have 3 opportunities to make a correction.
Yeah, when most places don't offer you really any. And if the board deems it a public nuisance, they'll order them to tear it down. If they don't do it, then we will do it. So,
and I guess, again, to Mr. Barthold's question, if he says, oh, I'm planning to open when it gets warmer. Okay, well, the Board of Trustees is not going to be unreasonable and say, well, too bad, tear it down anyway. So,
You're not looking to harm, you're just looking to make sure that they're representing what it should
right.
represent.
In a similar way, we all know Big Lots closed. They have multiple signs on the site still, and there is no Big Lots there. So those signs are in the process of being removed because there is no business there. And I think similarly, there is no Blue Rock ice cream, and therefore the sign needs to come down.
And I'll just add one thing, just because this is all new to everybody. these letters sometimes do the trick too, with people getting their signs cleaned up. It doesn't always have to come here, as you can see from the withdrawn cases. There was Mr. K at Pippin and Adams tore down that shield-shaped grocery store overflow parking sign. Cross County Pools had an extra rusted-out pole sign. So we have been fair. We have got to every abandoned pole sign in the township has got a letter. So we are being fair and consistent as well.
Yeah, Bob Evans sign's still there, though.
Well, no comment.
All right, where were we at? Did we have a motion and a second on this yet? Did we close the public portion?
We closed the public portion, I believe.
We did. Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion to, this is truly a sign that's been abandoned or otherwise?
Mr. Roberta,
Yes.
our clerk believes that there was not a vote to close the
public
public portion.
That's what I was getting clarification for. All right, so we did the first and the second, now we just need a roll call vote.
Okay, Mr. Bartol?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberta?
Yes. All right, now, do we have a motion to, this is truly or not truly, or table?
I'll make a motion to say that it's true by definition of the abandonment of the sign.
Okay, motion's been made, do we have a second?
That grammar, but
I'll second it.
Second's been made, discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bartol?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberta?
Yes. I see nothing on the agenda. We can make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made, second?
Second.
Second, discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bartol?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberta?
Yes. And the meeting is adjourned.